Well, out here again, we're gonna hit a little twisty route, mellow riding. I do have an issue with adrenaline. I'm gonna try to keep this mellow for the video's sake. We're just gonna vibe out. I got Zero Cool with me, and we're just gonna cruise. Beautiful day for a ride. Well, looks like it's going to be a busy day. Definitely, there we go. Cut through this little mountain town here. Puts us on the backside of this mountain range for some really beautiful riding. I posted a few videos this week already. Probably gonna post 2 videos a week, but maybe for this first few weeks while I'm starting the channel, I'll post a little bit more frequently. And typically I'll be doing something to get my adrenaline up. Very basic level in the other videos I covered seeing fear as a doorway and the need to get on the other side of that fear and burning in the fire that leaves you naked and empty but expresses the true version of yourself. Chaos. I always chew down other riders. And in case you're curious, it's not me saying hello, and it's not me saying peace. And I'm not expecting you to wave back, even though people do wave. When I see a rider and I throw my hand at them with 2 down, I'm sending them blessings for a safe ride, to keep their two wheels down and planted, and to get home safe. And it's more about me than them. I like to cast my spells of positivity and safety and love. And so that's what I do. Back on the topic here of chaos. When things are just not going your way. This is a very slow town, but we'll get through it pretty quickly. And hopefully all these cars are sticking around. If not, I'll pass them in the mountains. So yeah, have you ever felt like your life was spiraling out of control? Or a certain aspect of your life, and no matter how hard you fought, you just got yourself more and more tangled in it. Pretty sure I spent 2 decades of my life in that fight. What I've learned is that the peace that you're trying to get, it's not outside of that chaos. Those troubles do not have to pass before you can find it. The peace is something that you get, or you have access to, while you're in that whirlwind. Trauma shows up in a lot of ways. And a lot of times we can really drag it out. And sometimes we don't have a choice. You know, I was in middle school when my parents went to prison, and through a series of unfortunate foster homes, a youth pastor that tried to molest me, a beautiful, loving family that starved me. You don't even want to know what happened if I got caught drinking the milk. And a few other tries that failed. I ended up homeless in middle school. It was rough. So normally I would roll up to that stop sign, but the problem with this town is these cops are not friendly. So the experiences that I went through during that trauma was all about fighting and surviving, and placing blame on others and hating, and it put me in a very negative space. So then things started manifesting into my life. He was over the yellow line. You gotta be a biker to know how annoying that is. It's kind of pointless to pass when there's all these cars, but you leapfrog a few and then you get to open road. You just never know when. So that trauma manifested into my life in all kinds of horrible ways. Plagued with nightmares. Extremely emotional nightmares. Not the kind where Jason or Freddy is chasing me in a warehouse, but death and sadness and waking up with a wet pillow. And then my body's natural response to all the struggles I was having in life made me not want to face the day. So I could just sleep. And if I did happen to wake up not tired, I would lay there with my head under the covers and wish I was sleeping. Even with the nightmares, I needed that escape. I didn't like facing reality. It's hard to really find words for the visceral emotions of all that. But it manifested in fist fights. It manifested in numbness. You know, I feel sorry for any girl I dated at that time in my life because I just wasn't open to receive or give much love. And it created a very dark existence for me. And I was just waiting to get on the other side of this lifestyle. The homelessness. So when you're homeless in middle school and you can't trust the foster system, it's a little bit different. I think for me mentally, I blamed society because I felt like I could. And even now thinking back, I do believe that maybe they could have done better at helping me out before they wrote me off as a ward of the court. But I carried that struggle survivor mentality all the way through high school, through college, through my first career. And I would numb the pain instead of work through it. So I found that working 14 hours a day building my business was one way that I hid. And I'm not knocking that. I think I've founded about 5 businesses by now. All of them have been pretty successful, and 80% of them have required me to work 12 to 14 hour days in the beginning, bootstrapping it. And then once I started making lots and lots of money, I had to bootstrap less and less, and I could hire people, and it didn't take as much time. But I think the outcome sometimes looks the same, but the journey is a little bit different. I think my 14-hour days, I was hiding from my emotions. I was hiding from my sadness. I was hiding from my struggle. I didn't feel whole. I found little bouts of peace by getting drunk, objectifying women, using them as sex toys instead of beautiful partners that they are. And don't get me wrong, I think it's healthy to sexually fantasize about your woman. So, but once again, it's the space you're coming from. When you're numbing your feelings and you're hiding and you're using these things to distract yourself, I believe you're on the wrong path. So that's how traumas have showed up in my life. And the chaos never stopped during the whole 2 decades, from middle school to building my first business. Trauma was just there. The struggle was there. I held on to that identity. And I just expected that when I finally found peace outside of myself, I would have that peace inside of myself. And so I waited. So now I'm 26 at the time. Built my first business, bootstrapped it with no money, built it up to be, for me at the time, a dream come true of success. You know, I was very poor. I mean, at that time, $1,000 a week would have been a dream come true. I would have felt wealthy. And so the business ended up bringing me, you know, a good amount of money. This really isn't about money, so I don't want to put too much emphasis on it, but just for the sake of the conversation, go from poor, homeless, struggling, survival victim mentality, thinking that the other side is going to cure me. Now I'm making like 50 grand a month, own my own business, bought my first home, bought myself a Cadillac and put some 20-inch rims on it, put some beat in there. To be fair, this was what was happening back then. You know, I was with the times. So I'm in this house. Zero Cool was with me back then too. He's been around for a while. And he had this pretty cool girlfriend that would come over with bottles of tequila and girlfriends, you know, 4 nights a week, and would just give me all her girlfriends. I was so miserable. I still couldn't get out of bed. I was still objectifying these women. I was still fighting, getting drunk. The two F's of going out. I was either going to fight or the other F. I'm not really sure what YouTube allows us to say on here, so. So I accomplished what I wanted. I wanted to not be poor and homeless, and I start making money and I get a house. And I'm having fun. And I'm just depressed and miserable the whole time. It did nothing. And that's when the depression got worse. That's when I realized, that's the first time I had to take a look at myself, because it was always an outside problem. Something outside was affecting me. I was literally a slave to the outside world. And I just could have sworn that once my life got better, I'd have pure, just inner peace and happiness, and that did not happen. So I look at myself, and for the first time in my life, I just saw this deep, dark pit inside my soul that I had just been digging deeper and deeper for decades. And that's when the real work started happening. And that's when I realized that that inner peace that we're seeking is inside of us always. And if you're waiting for the chaos to end before you allow yourself to acknowledge that peace, then you're in for a lot of hurting, and you're making your life way worse than it has to be. And I'll go into more detail about finding that inner peace and how to pull it out during tumultuous times. My tongue was not designed for that word. I think for this video, I just wanted you to understand and acknowledge that the peace is inside of you, and you don't have to change anything to have it. It's there, waiting for you to tap into whenever you want it. You can find it in the silence. So for this video, ask yourself, what storm, what whirlwind in your life right now are you resisting and fighting? What are you tangled up in right now? Think about that for a little while, and think about the ways that you tangle yourself up in it, and how it's manifesting in negative emotions, distrust in others, distrust in yourself, anger, resentment, jealousy. Are you looking at what other people have and wondering why you don't have it? How is it manifesting into your life? And ask yourself how fighting that chaos is helping you. Because most of our suffering, in fact, all of our suffering, because we are mental beings. Our existence is mental. Our suffering is not from the experience that we're going through. It's from resisting that experience. What would it feel like to acknowledge the beautiful cyclical nature of life, the sunny days and the rainy ones, just for the journey that it is, because it sure is beautiful to be alive. And instead of fighting this change and creating all this pain inside yourself, you just let it be. It's there for a higher purpose. It's there for some lesson that your soul gets to learn to step into your highest potential and live a life of your full power and your true self. Your suffering can last 5 minutes or 25 years. I mean, I know some very old people who are salty, bitter at life. So it can last your whole entire life if you let it. Sorry that this ride was so slow. These cars are really cramping my style, but I'm gonna do some more canyon runs. For now, just enjoy the cammed engine and the beautiful scenery. I'm gonna shut up and ride now. Couldn't turn very sharp with that dirt pile there.